Good morning. This morning I'm going to talk about communications. It's December 18th, 2018. Okay. Communications is very important for civilization. It's important for a community, a locality, but also a civilization or a system. The beginning of any war, you might note that the communication system is taken out on at the site of the party that is going to be warred against, going to be attacked. Just like the United States military, under the thumb of the bankers, took out the communication system of Saddam Hussein right before the Gulf War, what was supposedly to wipe out his weapons of mass destruction, that somehow he was connected to 9/11 or something. I can't follow it, but you get the picture. The beginning of any major battle, the communication system is taken out. Well, that's what's happened over the years, over the decades with this country, especially after 1913, when the Federal Reserve Act was quickly passed a couple days before Christmas, after the Titanic or the Olympia had been sunk, and all that's in my other videos. But some people say that it's a tribe that wants to control everything, but I call it a half-tribe. They want to profit from every aspect that they are able to. And they do this profiting by taking advantage of their opponents. So in order to take over a whole system, you have to take over the communications of that system before you can continue. And that's what I say occurred. Well, even back in the Civil War, there was degrees of this, but it's especially happened more so since the late 20s, well, the 1930s, and more so after during World War II, and especially after the Vietnam War. In the 70s, they realized, the powers that be realized, that they had to control more and more of the system. And they did this through the pushing of profit, that everybody thought that they had to profit from everything. And I'm not against profiting. I'm just saying that this was overly profitable. There's a reasonable amount of profit that you should enjoy or gain, or else you can't keep in business. So I'm talking about controlling the competition so that you can really stick it to them and profit 25-50% of what your normal competitors would be willing to profit for. So getting back to the communication system, you noticed it in the media, the newsprint, the Time magazine, Newsweek, World Report magazines. During the early 80s, they all kind of seemed to converge to the point where they were printing the same articles and that especially happened in the the TV's networks. In the last few decades, they've come to use the same words, just each company it's almost like the same person writes the script for all of them to read. And news is not news, it's just propaganda. I noticed in the 1980s, throughout the 80s, that less and less real news was being reported on the TV and the radios and the newsprints, and it was more human interests stories. And pretty much that's all we have today is human interest stories and fake news. Fake news is not totally fake, it's just not the way that the media is reporting it. It's just like the assassination of JFK. All the news media has reported that the lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, did the shooting. They had determined this the same day, and yet if you look at all the evidence, there had to be a conspiracy, and Lee Harvey Oswald probably only played a small part. And as he said on national news, I'm a patsy. So that's fake news. The Saddam Hussein stuff was faked. Saying that he had something to do with 9/11 or weapons of mass destruction. And anyway, control of the news. That's how the powers that be and all their minions and underlings, which are many of you out there are profiting via the trickle-down concepts and profiting from the negative birth rate system, which is a debt creation system. They feel that they have to profit in the news business or the media business. This got underway back in the late 20s with Hollywood, profiting from media. And in a sense, Hollywood captured the whole market so that they controlled it. And that's the way it is today with the 7 families that pretty much run all the networks that claim to be news reporting. And the same families basically control the print, the publishing companies, every aspect of communications. They pretty much have their hand in it and control. And this may seem off subject, but it's just an extension. How many of you have ever thought that the whole exposure of UFOs, unidentified flying objects, in the skies was probably kept from being known to the public because the powers that be realized that they couldn't profit from the fact of an advanced form of transportation being present on the planet today. They couldn't profit from it. It would actually, in a sense, compete with them, and they would lose out, they realized, to this higher form of transportation. and it's a form of energy utilization too. It utilizes the Earth's energy through the electric universe concepts, and it's not as profitable to those who control that form, or control the form of transportation that we have today. Automobiles, trains, planes, ships that sail on the water, that is. They couldn't profit from that. So therefore they didn't allow it to be known to the public, because they had complete control of the news media. And I do mean pretty much complete control of it. If you only knew how much they controlled it, you'd do something about it tomorrow, or today. You'd start today. Okay, I want to tie in this communication system, as my title to this video spells out. The seventh seal. This may seem a little esoteric, but it's really part of the greater dimensions of what we have at hand here. Justice of the Peace Anna von Reitz up in Alaska has claimed that the earthquake that struck up there north of Anchorage, the 7.0 earthquake, and I believe that was on November 30th. I may be wrong, but she's claiming that it was engineered to strike right close to her locality, east of Palmer, Alaska, and Wasilla, Alaska. Although I've heard that the quake actually struck in quite a few areas, but it was rather a unique earthquake. It kind of struck with a boom. She says that the plates in her cabinets broke in the cabinets. The concussion from the earthquake didn't knock the plates out. It was just so sudden that it literally broke the plates in the cupboards, the china. Now, whether this was kind of witchcraft or whether it was actually engineered through technology that the powers that be have access to right now, it really doesn't matter. There was also an earthquake, I believe that same day, down in Buenos Aires, where the G12 was being held in Argentina. That was a 3.4, 3.8, somewhere around there. That struck quite the same time. Well, I've told Anna that that even if negative forces used something like that, there's a rebounding effect or repercussion effect that can occur. And I believe that that occurred just a week ago, where a 7.1 or thereabouts struck pretty much at the opposite end of the Earth, between this South American peninsula that sticks, the tip that sticks out towards Antarctica, and the tip that comes up from Antarctica. It was kind of beneath the ocean to the west of where those two peninsulas joined. So these were it was an earthquake at where these two continents joined. It was right off Thule Island, or Thule Island, which is an interesting name. And then there was this, within the same day or two, a 5.5 earthquake, I think it was, that struck in eastern Kentucky area. So these were likely repercussions, and since these two 7-pointers happened at the different ends of the poles almost, these were kind of polar associated quakes, and these are major significance. These reverberations will continue to occur throughout the planet, and this is affecting the seventh seal that was activated centuries and centuries ago off Bardsey Island off Wales in Great Britain. Bardsey Island is what it is. And so you see the seventh seals, or one of the major seals, is being removed, and this will allow us to get into the next dispensation, the next age, where the new age of enlightenment. Yeah, that's kind of woo out there, but these are all significant aspects that a lot of you are not aware of, and even the elite wants to know more about this, since they're playing such a major part of this. The more they try to prevent communications of information such as I'm talking about today, the more it comes back on them. It's just one of the laws of the universe. The more you apply a negative aspect to something, the more of a rebounding or repercussion you have in the positive direction. So the more you prevent facts or information such as I'm talking about, this is the more greater information which you should be aware of. Saying that, it's like whatever's at the top of the list of censorship is probably likely that's what you really want to pay attention to as the number one item of importance, that if you were knowledgeable, the bigger picture would fall into place. You'd be able to understand more about your position in the universe, your position in the world, your position in this planet, your position in your locality. So I hope that all opens your eyes more to the world around you. Thank you, and good day. You have a good figuring out of what's this all about. Bye.